بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We are continuing lesson 16 about itlaq, and there is a very good discussion today about another type of itlaq, which is different from what we have discussed so far. So far, we talked about al-itlaq al-lafzi, because we were talking about linguistic references, and one of them was itlaq. For example, if it is said a'tiq raqabatan and it is not specified, it has to be mu'mina or it can be any raqaba, we said with the use of muqaddamatul hikmah we can come to the conclusion that it doesn't need to be mu'mina, because if it was meant and the speaker was able to mention and is in maqam bayan, he should have mentioned it. This is all itlaq al-lafzi. But our ulama introduce also another type of itlaq, which is called al-itlaq al-maqami. Maqam is context. So this is not actually a matter of a phrase or a term. It's from the whole context. For example, if when Shari', the legislator, lawmaker, for example, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is introducing different parts of salat, ajza'u salah, and then he says al-fatihatu juz'un, as-ruku'u juz'un, as-sujudu juz'un. So he mentions Fatihatul Kitab, Surah Hamd, mentions ruku, sujud, tashahhud, salam. He doesn't, suppose, mention Surah Ikhlas or second surah. Okay? Here there is a chance that someone may say, if the legislator, the lawmaker, Shari' Muqaddas, was in the context of mentioning all parts of Salat, but he has not mentioned Surah Ikhlas or the second surah as one part, it means that it was not wajib. Of course, you have to be able to show that he was in the context and with the intention of saying all the parts. If someone asks me, even when I'm, for example, teaching ahkam, if someone asks me, please mention parts of salat, all the ajza for salat, if I mention few but I don't mention one specific part, then the impression that I am giving is that that part is not wajib, it's not necessary, it's mustahab, for example. So, if, this is a big if you manage to establish that the speaker is intending to mention all the parts, but certain thing has not been mentioned, what do you understand from this? That it is not a part. This is called itlaqul maqami. It's not that you understand it from a particular term or phrase like raqabah. Al-Fatihatu juz'un min as-salat. Okay. Al-Ruku'u juz'un. None of them has itlaq. But the whole context gives this idea to us. So you understand the difference between إطلاق لفظي and إطلاق مقامي. الإطلاق الذي استعرضناه وعرفنا أنه يثبت بقرينة الحكمة والظهور الحالي السياقي نسميه الإطلاق اللفظي. إطلاق, which we have discussed. استعرضنا means we have dealt with. And we came to know that it is established with قرينة الحكمة, with the help of مقدمات الحكمة becoming complete. والظهور الحالي السياقي. And we said when مقدمات الحكمة are there, there is a kind of apparent meaning which is understood from this context. But the basis was لفظ. We call it الإطلاق اللفظي. نسميه الإطلاق اللفظي. Why? تمييزا. In order to distinguish it عن نحو آخر من الإطلاق, to distinguish it from another type of إطلاق لا بد من معرفته, which also should be understood. So there is another type of إطلاق that we have to understand, but should not be mixed up with this one. The other type of إطلاق that we should know, نطلق عليه اسم الإطلاق المقامي. We give it the name of إطلاق المقامي. So both of them are in a sense إطلاق, but one is لفظي, linguistic, one is مقامي, it's contextual. Ayatollah Sa'd explains more. He says in one paragraph again what is the whole idea about إطلاق اللفظي. ونقصد بالإطلاق اللفظي حالة وجود صورة ذهنية للمتكلم. We mean by إطلاق اللفظي the situation, the condition that there is a mental image for the speaker. وصدور الكلام منه في مقام التعبير عن تلك الصورة. And he says something, a word, a speech comes from him in order to express that surah. So he has a mental image, and for example, he wants, I free a slave. He wants me to bring water. Then he says that in words. So sudur al-kalam min, a speech is issued from him في مقام التعبير عن تلك الصورة, in the context of expressing that image. ففي مثل هذه الحالة, if that is the situation, that he has something in mind and he wants to express it, إذا ترددنا في هذه الصورة, if we have a doubt about this image, you say, what did he have in mind? Did he want رقبية مؤمنة, or he wanted any raqabah? I don't know what was in his mind. إذا ترددنا في هذه الصورة, if we have doubt about this image, هل إنها تشتمل على قيد مذكور في الكلام الذي سيق للتحدث عنها? Is it said because he had a qaid, a modifier, which is not mentioned? I repeat, ففي هذه الحالة, في مثل هذه الحالة, in such condition, we doubt في هذه السورة about this image, whether إنها تشتمل, whether that surah, that image involved a qaid, a modifier, which is not mentioned in the words, but maybe what was meant, maybe part of that meaning in his mind was that Iman is a condition, but maybe he has not mentioned this. هل إنها تشتمل على قيد مذكور في الكلام الذي سيق للتحدث عنها? Did it involve a qaid which is not mentioned? What do you guess? As a rational person, you say, if he had this qaid, this extra condition, he should have said it. If he was meaning that we must do only mu'mina, raqabiyya mu'mina, and he was able to say, sometimes there is taqiyya, sometimes he's not able to speak, that's another thing. But in a normal condition, he's able to speak, he has time, he wants to mention everything so that we practice. He's not just introducing an idea in principle and say, okay, the details come later. No, he wants to say something that we want to practice right now. And he has not mentioned the qaid, so it means that it was not needed. كان مقتضى الظهور الحالي السياقي في أن المتكلم يبين تمام المراد بالخطاب ما عدم ذكره للقيد هو الإطلاق. So what is implied from that apparent meaning which is understood from the context, that a speaker who wants to explain everything in his word and he has not mentioned qaid, so it means that he didn't mean it. هو الإطلاق. Itlaq then was meant. If he had wanted qaid, he should have said it. هذا هو الإطلاق اللفظي. This is called linguistic إطلاق لأنه يرتبط بمدلول اللفظ, because this is related to what is signified, what is indicated by the term. One particular term or phrase gives this إطلاق with the help of مقدمات حكمة. This is not new. This is what we have discussed so far. What is new is the next one. أما الإطلاق المقامي فلا يراد به نفي شيء. إطلاق المقامي is not meant to deny something which, if it was there, was a modifier for a mental image that the term is mentioning. So it's not as directly corresponding to a term. It's not directly, because term corresponds to the mental image. If the term is not modified, so we say the mental image was not modified. But this is not as directly as the previous one. It's not directly related to the term. It's from the whole context. لا يراد به نفي شيء. It is not meant by this to deny something which لو كان ثابتا, which if it was there لكان قيدا في الصورة الذهنية. So we don't want to deny something which, if it was there, it was a qaid, a modifier for that mental image الذي يتحدث عنها اللفظ, that the term is indicating and relaying. So we are not talking about one particular term and meaning of that term and whether it matches the mental image or not. إنما يراد به نفي شيء لو كان ثابتا لكان صورة ذهنية مستقلة. What is meant by that is to deny something which, if it was there, was an independent mental image. Another element. It's not about iman as a condition for raqabah. Like we say hamd is wajib, ruku is wajib, sujood is wajib, tashahud is wajib, salam is wajib. Okay, I am not talking about these things. I say if Surah Al-Ikhlas is not mentioned or second surah is not mentioned at all, is it still a part, or you can say it's not a part? You understand? I'm not talking about whether what was said had a condition which is missing or not. I am talking about something which is not mentioned at all. The question is whether raqaba is raqaba mu'mina or mutlaq. The question is about something which is not mentioned at all. And we want to see whether we can say it is not wajib or we have to be in doubt. فَإِذَا قَالَ الْمُتَكَلِّمُ, if the speaker says, الْفَاتِحَةُ جُزْءٌ فِي الصَّلَاةِ, Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Hamd is part of Salat. الرُّكُوعُ جُزْءٌ فِيهَا, Ruku is also part of Salat. السُّجُودُ جُزْءٌ فِيهَا, Sujud is also part of Salat. And he mentions other parts after Sujud like Tashahhud, Salam, but wasakata, he doesn't mention anything else. As you see, there is no mention of surah. Surah means second surah. وأردنا أن نثبت بعدم ذكره لجزئية السورة أنها ليست جزءا. And then we decide to prove through this fact that he has not mentioned surah, we want to prove that it is not surah. Surah is not a juz, it's not a part. Is it a good argument? Is it a strong point to say that because he has not mentioned surah, so it is not a part? This is called itlaq al-maqami. كان هذا إطلاقا مقاميا. This is called إطلاق المقام. Of course, we said there is a condition for that. What is the condition for إطلاق المقام? We must know that he wants to mention all the parts. If he was mentioning few as examples, then you cannot say because he didn't mention surah, so it's not part of salah. Example, he can mention 1, 2, 3 examples. But if he was intending to say everything so that we then start practicing, you cannot tell me say these few things and I start saying salah, then after some time say no, there was something else that I didn't tell you. If you know that I have to start praying, you should tell me everything. Okay? A wise person would not say only few parts if he knows that there are more parts. يتوقف هذا الإطلاق المقامي على إحراز أن المتكلم في مقام بيان تمام أجزاء الصلاة. إطلاق مقامي depends on establishing that the speaker is in the context of explaining all parts of Salat. This was his intention, to mention everything which is part of Salat. إِذْ مَا لَمْ يُحْرَزْ ذَلِكَ, because if this is not established, لا يكون عدم ذكره لجزئية السورة كاشفا عن عدم جزئيتها. Then, not mentioning surah as a part would not show that it is not a part. From not mentioning surah as a part, we can only understand that it is not actually a part if we know that he was meaning to say everything. Everything he did. Pardon? Not listener, intention of a speaker. Intention of a speaker. Sometimes, for example, if I say, for example, in this city, you can say your prayer behind Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C. There are two possibilities. Sometimes I am just giving examples. People that you are, confident. But if I am exhausting, I am trying to give a list of everyone that you can say your prayer. Then the fact that I didn't mention someone means you cannot say your prayer behind that person. Okay? Here is the same. If these parts are mentioned as examples, okay. So you cannot say then surah is not part because it is not mentioned. It's an example. You don't need to mention all. But if this was said by the speaker as a kind of inclusive list, he wanted to give us everything that we need to know to practice, then not mentioning is a reason for saying that it was not part of salat. ومجرد استعراضه لعدد من أجزاء الصلاة لا يكفي لإحراز ذلك. Just the fact that he has mentioned some parts is not sufficient for proving that he wanted to say everything. You need extra evidence. You have to establish that he wanted to mention everything. بل يحتاج إحرازه إلى قيام قرينة خاصة على أنه في هذا المقام. We need to establish, for establishing that he wanted to say all the parts, we need for establishing this extra, special evidence. Yeah, for example, as I said, someone asked Imam alayhi salam, how should I say my prayer? If Imam doesn't mention something, then this cannot be part of it. Because if it was part of it, why Imam didn't mention? This person is going to be confused. This person is going to miss something. وبذلك يختلف الإطلاق المقامي عن الإطلاق اللفظي. With this, إطلاق المقامي is going to differ from إطلاق اللفظي, because إطلاق اللفظي is the one that we have been always discussing, and as we said, it's related to some terms. إذ في الإطلاق اللفظي يوجد ظهور سياقي عام يتكفل إثبات أن كل متكلم يسوق لفظا للتعبير عن صورة ذهنية فلا تزيد الصورة الذهنية التي يعبر عنها باللفظ عن مدلول اللفظ. I hope your Arabic allows you to understand. It is different from إطلاق اللفظي. Why? Because in إطلاق اللفظي there is a general contextual apparent meaning that undertakes proving that any mutakallim that is mentioning few words to express that mental image in his mind, the mental image should not have something more than what he has said. If you have a meaning and then you say it, you should say everything. You cannot say, I meant this, but I didn't say it. So if you didn't say it, we realize that you didn't mean it. You said أعتق رقبة, you didn't say مؤمنة, so you didn't mean it. But لا يوجد في الإطلاق المقامي فلا يوجد في الإطلاق المقامي ظهور مماثل في أن كل من يستعرض عددا من أجزاء الصلاة فهو يريد الاستيعاب. There is no such similar ظهور that whoever deals with few parts, he wants to be inclusive. No, maybe he's just mentioning a few examples. Here, we cannot say just because if he had wanted, he should have said. Yes, if you establish that he wanted to say everything, then you can say if he had wanted, he should have said it. Now, few applications. Muqaddamatul hikmah or qarinatul hikmah can be applied to few cases here. One is about command. Amr means talab. Okay? To command and ask for something. Some people have said we understand wujub through itlaq. Because talab can be wujubi and istihbab. I ask you to do something, either as an obligation or recommendation. Some people have said a recommendation is a talab which is weak. If I want something, I tell you, even if you don't do it, it is fine. I am weakening this talab. Yeah, istihbab means a talab that you can also ignore it. It's better to do it. Istihbab means it's better to do it, but even if you don't do it, it's okay. Okay? So, some people have said, if there is amr, which means talab, if it is said that it is okay not to do it, becomes mustahab. If it is left without any extra thing, we have to take it as obligation. So if I say, اغتسل, wash, you should take it as wujub, unless I say, and even if you don't wash it, it's fine. Okay? So, as long as there is no evidence to suggest that it is for recommendation, you should take it as necessary and obligatory. يدل الأمر على الطلب. Amr indicates demand, وأنه على نحو الوجوب. And also, as we said before, it is a kind of obligation. معنى الظاهري is wujub. Pardon? In general, they said it means demand. وَقَدْ يُقَالُ بِهَذَا السَّدَدِ. And some people say in this context, أن دلالته على الوجوب ليست بالواضح. They say Amr does not indicate wujub by designation. So wujub is not part of the mawzu'un la, part of the meaning for which it is designated. Wujub is understood from outside, from muqaddamatul hikmah. Some people have said this. They said أن دلالته على الوجوب ليست بالواضح. It is not by was that it indicates wujub. إنما هي بالإطلاق وقرينة الحكمة. It is with itlaq and the help of قرينة الحكمة. Why? Why if it is mutlaq it means wujub, and if it is anything else we need qaid? لأن الطلب غير الوجوب طلب ناقص محدود. Because any demand which is not obligatory is weak, it's incomplete. And this means that you need to specify. وهذا التحديد تقييد في هوية الطلب. This definition or defining and limiting means you are specifying. وما عدم نسب قرينة على التقييد, and if there is no evidence put to say that taqyid is meant, يثبت بالإطلاق إرادة الطلب المطلق. Then we realize that it is simply or unconditionally demanded, or you can say absolute talab. أي الطلب الذي لا حد له بما هو طلب is a kind of demand which has not been limited, and this is wujub. So if I say do something, you must do it. You cannot say maybe it was mustahab. I say no. If I wanted to say you can also ignore it, I should have given some indication. If you remember in previous books of usul, when we talked about talab or about wujub, we said we have wujub nafsi, wujub ghayri, wujub ta'ini, wujub takhiri, wujub aini, wujub kifai. Okay? All these three divisions also, it's a matter of itlaq and taqyid. So, للطلب انقسامات عديدة. Talab has different classifications. كانقسامه إلى الطلب النفسي والغيري. For example, one classification is to divide it to nafsi and ghairi. Nafsi is something which is wanted for itself. Ghairi is something which is wanted for something else. For example, I say sallu. Say your salat. This is nafsi. But I say إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم. When you want to say your prayer, make wuzu. This is ghairi. Because wuzu is legislated for the sake of salat. Salat is legislated for the sake of itself. Don't tell me salat is for qurbah. We are not talking about the aim. We are talking about what has been expressed. Salat is wanted for itself. But wuzu is wanted for salat. Okay? This is wajib nafsi wa ghairi. Okay, if I have doubt, what should I do? If I don't know it is nafsi or ghairi, so I assume it is nafsi, because if it was wanted for something else, it should have been mentioned. كانقسامه إلى الطلب النفسي والغيري. One classification is to divide it to nafsi and ghairi. فالأول, what is nafsi? هو طلب الشيء لنفسه. Asking something for its own sake. You want this for its own sake. والثاني هو طلب الشيء لأجل غيره. But غيري is that you want something for another thing, for the sake of another thing. You want wuzu for the sake of salat. This is one classification. Also, talab is divided into at-talab al-ta'yini wa takhyiri. Remember, ta'yini is when only one thing is wanted. Takhyiri is that you have choice. For example, according to many ulama, in the time of ghaibah, for the midday of Jum'ah, we can say Jum'ah, we can say Salat al-Dhuhr. Yeah, according to many. Or for example, if someone has broken his fast intentionally, he can do either Etq Raqabah or fasting 60 days or Et'amu Sittin Miskin. This is takhir, means you have option. But ta'yini means decisive, no option. Salat al-Zuhr on Thursday is fixed. But Salat al-Zuhr on Jum'ah is optional. According to many ulama, you can do Jum'ah. فَالْأَوَّلُ means ta'yini. هُوَ طَلَبُ شَيْءٍ مُعَيَّنٍ, asking something specific. وَالثَّانِي طَلَبُ أَحَدِ الْأَشْيَاءِ عَلَى سَبِيلِ التَّخِيرِ, to ask one of the few things, maybe one of the two, one of three, عَلَى سَبِيلِ التَّخِيرِ, as a choice. Another classification, وَانْقِسَامِهِ إِلَى الْعَيْنِيَّ وَالْكِفَائِي, wajib aini or wajib kifai. What is aini? Something that every person, every mukallaf has to do it. Kifai is what? Is our responsibility, but if some of us can take care of it, the rest don't need to do it. Okay? Attending class is ta'ini or takhiri. is ta'yini and ayni and wujubi. Yes. Mubayasa is also ta'yini and ayni. It's not enough few people do mubayasa. All must do mubayasa. Okay. So, العيني الأول هو طلب الشيء من المكلف بعينه. To ask something from mukallaf, himself or herself. I want you to do this, no matter what others do. Even if all people do it, still you have to do it. This is واجب عيني. طلب عيني. والثاني طلبه من أحد المكلفين على سبيل البدل. واجب كفاية is that we ask from one or more. Because sometimes واجب كفاية needs thousands of people. Yeah, for example, we need to teach our children, not one person, but we have to have few people who can take care of it. If we have few people who can teach in madrasa, the rest can say, okay, we don't need to go to teach. But if we don't have enough, all of us are responsible. So it's not a matter of one person. Sometimes one person is enough, like Salat al-Mayyit. One person does Salat al-Mayyit is enough. But if it is defending our country or doing certain wajibat that needs more help, for example, there is flood. How many people should go and help? As many as it is required. You cannot say one person. So it's example. طلبه من أحد المكلفين. Asking one of the mukallafin is an example, like Salat al-Mayyit. Otherwise, sometimes it's asking thousands of people. But ala sabil al-badal as alternative. So I am not saying you must definitely do it. But someone must do it. It can be you, it can be someone else. If you don't do it, all of you are responsible. But if enough number of people take care of it, the rest have no responsibility. Now, the question is this. From itlaq, we can establish that talab is nafsi. We can establish that talab is ta'ini. We can establish that talab is aini. All can be understood from itlaq. If Mawla, our master, wanted takhiri, he should have said something. Otherwise, we assume that there is no choice. Or if he wanted only some of us to do it, he should mention it. Okay? Or if he wants this for the sake of another thing, he should mention it. So, the default, because itlaq is to go by default. The default is what? Nafsi, ta'ini, aini. If you want to go to the other party, to other side, qaid must be mentioned. So if qaid is not mentioned, we go to default, to mutlaq. انقسامه إلى العين والكفاء فالأول هو طلب الشيء من المكلف بعينه والثاني طلب من أحد المكلفين على سبيل البدل. We said this. وبالإطلاق وقرينة الحكمة. With the help of إطلاق and قرينة الحكمة يمكن أن نثبت كون الطلب نفسيا تعيينيا عينيا. We can establish that this demand is nafsi, for its own sake. Ta'yini means not optional. Aini means every person has duty. ويقال في توضيح ذلك. For its explanation, it is said, إن الغيرية تقتضي تقييد وجوب الشيء بما إذا وجب ذلك الغير. If it was غيري, then it was needed to say, we want this if you want to do the other one. For example, if wuzu is only wanted for the sake of salat, then we should be informed that if you are going to pray, make wuzu. Yeah, if wuzu was wanted for the sake of salah. Okay? Is it clear? So ghayri needs explanation. Otherwise, default is that it is nafsi. Means you have to do it anyway. But ghayri is wanted for something else. And if the other thing is not happening, then you don't need to bring the ghayri. Okay? So, ghayriyya requires a specifying or conditioning obligatoriness of something upon what? This condition that if the other is happening, is wajib. إذا وجب ذلك الغير. You say, I want A for the sake of B. If it's غيري. If you don't say because of B, I think you want it anyway. والتخييرية تقتضي تقييده بما إذا لم يؤتى بالآخر. تخيير means what? Means you have option. When I can say you must do this when you don't do others. For example, someone who has broken his fast intentionally in the month of Ramadan. Okay? I cannot tell him you must fast 60 days. I can say you must fast 60 days if you are not going to bring the alternative. Because there are 3 types of compensation. Okay? So, in takhiri, always we have to add if you are not doing the rest. So, if someone says something and doesn't make this addition, that if you don't make the rest or you don't bring the alternative, so it means that we should take it to be ta'yini. وَالْكِفَائِيَّةِ تقتضي تقييده بما إذا لم يأت الآخر بالفعل. Wajib kifai is also in need of specifying that if someone else doesn't do it, you must do it. If other people can take care of it, you don't need to do it. So Shahid Saad is trying to say that in all these 3, you need extra explanation. So when this extra is not there, you take the other party. Means default is nafsi, aini, and ta'ini. كل هذه التقييدات تنفي أو تنفى ما عدم القرينة عليها بقرينة الحكمة. All these modifications will be negated with one important fact. What is that fact? عدم القرينة عليها. If they wanted, they should have brought some evidence. There is no evidence that can indicate this. So, with the help of قرينة حكمة, we can negate them. فيثبت المعنى المقابل لها. So, the opposite meaning would be established. What is opposite to غيري? نفسي. What is opposite to تخيري? تعيني. What is opposite to كفائي? عيني. Okay. So, alhamdulillah, we finished itlaq. The next lesson is about umum. Umum is different from itlaq because in umum, generality is understood from the text, not from muqaddamat hikmah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin.